All right, good evening, everybody. It is July the 2nd, Wednesday. This is Sahavas for everyone on Baba Zoom, and this is a special Sahavas for everyone. Our special guest tonight is Avatar Mayor Baba's Silence, and we are going to share some quotes. You can bring your own quote about Baba's silence or silence breaking or manifestation or whatever you'd like. We're going to share a little bit and then we will wrap it up. So, first things first, I'd like to just ask everybody where they're from and the name you like to be called because I like to honor everybody's presence. I'm Laurent Weichberger, and
I'm Vanessa Weichberger.
we're here from Charleston, South Carolina.
I'm Diane Ullman. I'm from Venice Beach, California. My wife is joining us in just a moment. She's
Okay.
also Venice Beach, California, and her name is Terry.
Awesome. Thank you.
I'm Jack Becker, and I live near Chicago, Illinois.
Awesome. Thank you.
And here's Terry. Say
Okay.
your name.
Hi, I'm Terry.
Hi, Terry. All right, we're going to start with a quote. Can you all see my screen?
Mm-hmm.
I brought two quotes and a dream, and Vanessa has a quote. Feel free to bring a quote about Baba's silence or silence breaking or manifestation or whatever you'd like. I'm going to go first, and then I'm going to call on Vanessa, and then you guys can all share, and we'll see where we go. First one is, when I first came to Baba, I was 17 years old and living in Manhattan in New York. And I was handed a universal message by Doug Stalker at the prompting of Michael Matthias. And I had really no spiritual background. I was studying science, chemistry in particular, and physics. And so Baba was like like nothing I'd ever encountered in my life. And he just completely stole my heart. So I used to read this universal message over and over again. And these lines made a deep impression on me. So I'm going to start with this. This is from Baba's universal message. I have come not to teach, but to awaken. Understand, therefore, that I laid down no precepts. Throughout eternity, I have laid down principles and precepts, but mankind has ignored them. Man's inability to live God's words makes the Avatar's teaching a mockery. Instead of practicing the compassion he taught, man has waged crusades in his name. Instead of living the humility, purity, and truth of his words, man has given way to hatred, greed, and violence. Because man has been deaf to the principles and precepts laid down by God in the past, in this present avataric form, I observe silence. You have asked for and been given enough words. It is now time to live them. You have asked for and been given enough words. It is now time to live them. Well, I just will pause there for a second and say that. Can you imagine at 17 in New York, and I just came to Baba and I read that? I hadn't even really come to Baba. That was the first thing I ever read of Baba's, and I just thought, what? This is incredible, and I still feel it's incredible. Next year is my 40th anniversary with Baba. I could read this every single day. It's absolutely true to me, and I want to add something to this that Baba said that his silence had a purpose. So it's not just this, it's this and other stuff. But he said the purpose of his silence was because he intended to break his silence. And that when he breaks his silence, it would be with just one word. And that word would have a tremendous spiritual impact on humanity. And it would give them an experience of the truth. an experience of God. So I just wanted to say that as a starting point. Any comments on that before I go on? Anybody? Vanessa?
Yeah, I have more questions than comments.
Go ahead.
I've always had a challenge with Baba's silence. And my challenge is, the quote of "You've been given enough words." But then he used other ways to communicate words. He just didn't use the sound behind the words. And I've said to myself, well, he talks about sound having a special effect and a power and a push that, but that silence is louder,
Mm.
right? Is that fair enough?
Oh, are you asking or are you telling? Because it
Well,
sounds like
I'm obviously a girl confused.
well,
I try and talk to myself about it.
yeah. Um, so there is a special power, like you say, in him speaking with words. So him pulling that back and then pulling back writing and then throwing away the alphabet board over his lifetime, he pulled further and further back. And Erich said to us, he intensified his silence as he got older. And I said to him, what do you mean intensified? Like for me, you're either silent or not. He said, no, intensified. He said in the beginning, when he first started silence, when he would hug, he would go like this. Mm. And then as he got older, he wouldn't make any sound when he would hug people. Like in little ways, he was more and more and more silent. Well, maybe not so little. And then when he threw away the alphabet board and just did his gestures, it made it even harder for people to understand what he was communicating. It's like it became more and more and more. And then Mara, his beloved, said, you don't even understand. Baba loved to talk. He loved to sing. He wasn't a quiet person who keeping silent wouldn't have been that big a deal because, they like quietude and silence anyway. He was very chatty. He was very alive. He loved singing and expression. So she said, his silence was a real sacrifice.
I didn't know that he made sounds. I thought that
Yeah.
was one of the things that was amazing. Like after the accident, he made no sounds of pain or
Early on, in the beginning,
okay.
Erich said in the beginning, he even got on the phone once. Somebody said they wanted to talk to him on the phone, but he was silent. So he went ooh, 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 like a dove. He made cooing sounds into the phone.
So then I'm going to jump to the other thing you said, that he said he was going to break his silence with one word.
Baba said that.
How do you reconcile that never happened in this human incarnation?
I believe it did.
What and where?
So I've thought a lot about this, and I've used to talk to my friend Twig a lot about it. We went back and forth about this over and over again. It also comes up in the dream that I'm going to share at the end. But where, you said what and where was Baba? Well, he was a human being, but he said as the avatar, every avatar stations themselves on a certain plane of consciousness. He said Jesus stationed himself on the fourth plane and performed the miracles associated with the fourth plane. Buddha stationed himself on the fifth plane, which is the mental world of thoughts. Every avatar stations themselves on a certain plane for their work. Baba said that he had stationed himself on the seventh plane. And I think that's why he would bang his head to relieve himself of the integration pain, because he had to integrate the seventh plane station with the gross world consciousness, and it was excruciating, he said. But if it's true that Baba is stationed on the seventh plane as the avatar, and if he spoke, could it be possible that he spoke from the seventh plane towards the gross world? So that word, the one word, not being a literal like the word love or the word power, whatever the word could be a mystical word, like in the Bible, in the beginning was the word, and the word was God, and the word was all that kind of stuff. Maybe the word isn't a literal word. Maybe the word is what he's speaking to the world, which is mystical truth, and that travels from him being on the seventh plane into the through the own point into the sixth plane, fifth plane, fourth plane, third plane, second plane, first plane, and then boom, it enters the gross world where humans who don't have spiritual understanding can receive the power of the mystical word of the truth. It's not a literal word. In my experience, Baba gave that, released that word of God, the same word that created the creation, the same word that can give experience when it's received. It's not just a word that you hear with your ear. I believe he did that.
I have a thought.
Yeah, that.
This is a good time.
Yeah.
About this. I think that I'm just gonna have to hope that the words come to me here because I'm kind of forgetting exactly what I wanted to say. But basically, this idea that when I speak the word, all the world will know. All the world. What didn't somebody just say this quote just now? One of you.
Well,
When I speak the one word. What
yeah,
is
I
that?
started to get onto that, but it's okay. You don't have to have the exact quote. You can just share your feelings. It's okay.
Okay. Yeah. So my feeling is that, like Laurent is saying, this is a sort of an abstract concept, or like the it's the one true word you've always longed to hear. And to me, he's talking about God realization, and the whole world will experience, God's ocean of love, because I imagine from my own perspective, which I realize is still absorbed in this illusion of separateness, when I get to the end and realize that I'm God, and I, being God, breaking from this dream, waking up from this dream of being Jack, or being whoever I am when this God realization happens, as is inevitable according to Baba, in that moment, I will be everything. I will be the entire universe being overwhelmed by that ocean of love. And that's the breaking of Baba's silence. And it's a timeless thing because God realization is always happening, even though we don't experience it. We're not conscious of it now as these illusory separate beings. God is consciousness. God is conscious of it. So God realization seems like this timeless thing, even though it's in the future from our perspective. It's always happening, and it has happened, and it's going to happen. And
I love that. I love that, Jack. In fact, the next quote is, I think, perfectly aligned with what you just said, if I could share it.
Please.
Because I think you're right in line with what I was going to share next. Can you see my screen?
It's loading for me.
Oh.
There it is.
When the word of my love breaks out of its silence and speaks in your hearts, telling you who I really am, you will know that that is the real word you have been always longing to hear. Is that similar to what you're sharing, Jack?
Absolutely. Yeah. That's the quote that I'm trying to latch onto there.
Well, I had it ready for you. See? When the word of my love breaks out of its silence and speaks in your hearts, telling you who I really am, you will know that that is the real word you have been always longing to hear, Mayor Baba. And Terry and Diane, that's what I meant by a mystical word, because that's not the same as a word that you hear with your ear. That's the word of his love breaking out of its silence and speaking in the heart, telling you who I really am. For me, that means when you wake up to the reality of the avatar in your life and in your heart, and what Jack is saying with God realization, but I think that's the goal. This is more like the interim experience, the mystical experience that will wake humanity up to Baba in an internal mystical way. It's not propaganda, it's experiential. Good one?
Good one.
All right. I have one more, but I want to take a pause and see how people feel about that last one. Vanessa, you like it?
I do like it.
Yeah. Diane and Terry? Happy?
Yes, I'm happy. I think that Baba's word is what brought me to him. Like I didn't hear anything, but I did in my intuition. He gave it to me that way.
Yeah, right.
See, I think I was thinking that he was going to do a word that, and everybody was going to hear / feel it at the same time, and it would change the world.
But at the same time is an interesting point, because if you read all the literature about Baba, all of it, the people on the sixth plane seem to know who Baba was before anybody else.
Mm.
Then the fifth planers seem to wake up to him. Then the people in the subtle world seem to wake up to him. And the worldly person seems to be the last people to be aware of him. But during his lifetime, saints and masters would say, no, Mayor Baba's the real one. One of them said, I'm just an ordinary saint. I'm like a candle. He's like the sun.
Mm-hmm.
Like the sun in the sky. Like they knew who he was. But Joe Blow on the street has no idea,
Mm-hmm.
So, but it doesn't mean that Joe Blow won't find out. Yeah.
I just wanted to say though, I feel like right now everyone is waking up at the same time. It's just in different layers. The density of one person is different than another. And so I've witnessed personally friends, and acquaintances and even family members break through things that, they were struggling with for 20 years. And there's like a quickening of sort of awareness and who each person's authenticity is, right? So everybody's trying to find out their true self. And so these little false layers fall away, right? But what's the inspiration behind that? That's Baba's words speaking in their hearts. It's like the whole, it's a slow process, of this awakening. So I also like the about the light bulb.
Oh,
He had that quote somewhere.
in my head.
Yeah.
You want to hear that?
Yeah.
The gist of it is, I don't have the word for word, but the gist of it is Baba said, when I break my silence and manifest my divinity, it will be as if when the powerhouse is switched on, all light bulbs connected to the powerhouse will be lit up. And then he said, bulbs that are of a high candle power will light up bright, and bulbs that are of a low candle power will be dimmer. And unless the bulb is fused, and then if the bulb is fused, it will have no light, but all the lights otherwise will be lit up. That one?
Yeah, and I think the light is our hearts, right? It's and the work that we have is of loving him, but which is also loving each other. To peel off those layers and practice, creating the heart space and room for him, which is the light.
Beautiful. Beautiful. All right, I've got one more, and then I'll let you guys share yours. Is that good? So the last one I brought is, I was thinking in the car about what I wanted to share tonight on the way over here. And we were talking about it in the car, and I thought, oh, I got to tell this one dream. Baba's blessed me with many different dreams, but this one was in 1997, maybe 98, maybe early 98. And I was in Arizona. And at the time, I had been helping somebody, a Baba lover, who wanted to collect all of the quotes about Baba saying about his silence breaking, and his manifestation. So I'd been working on that for a long time with him. And then I had this dream. And in the dream, I was at Upper Maribad walking with Baba. towards Lower Maribod, down the hill towards Lower Maribod, and Baba had men Mandali with him, and I was walking next to Baba, and his men Mandali were walking with him, and he was talking to one of them, and I was waiting for my opportunity to talk to Baba, but I didn't want to be rude or interject or anything, so I just waited patiently while we were walking. And then we got down to the railroad tracks at Lower Maribod. And before we crossed the railroad tracks, Baba finished with that guy and turned directly to me. And he said, "Did you want to ask me something?" And I said, "Oh, yes, Baba. Are you going to explain about your silence breaking and your manifestation?" And he did what he did to Don. He used his finger and he went, "Stay in the present moment, here and now," like that. And I woke up. So I wrote on this paper, "Stay in the present moment, here and now." And I put it up over my desk. And I have never had the need or desire to know about Baba's silence breaking and manifestation since that dream, because it's like when you go to a chiropractor, especially Vanessa's chiropractor, and you get that really strong adjustment and you really feel it in your body where you go, whoa, like something shifts, and you can feel it. That dream was like a chiropractic adjustment on my spiritual body where I didn't care about the silence breaking manifestation. It was like Baba was saying, that's not important. Like, it's important on a cosmic level because it's Baba's work. But what's important for me is to be present here and now and focus on my spiritual life. That's not my business. Okay, Jay Baba. I'll let you guys share whatever you brought.
Jay Baba, can I jump in on that? Because I love that story.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Thank you. So, yeah, I just think it's amazing, and it just reminds me of like that he says that God speaks is like a bone for the dog of the mind. I think, yeah, and it's like, because that's what drew me to Baba, or I guess that's how I fell so madly in love with Baba, because I come from trying to figure it all out. That's my background. I studied astrophysics, and I was trying to crack the code and understand what reality was. And Baba sold me on, don't love me. That's how you'll get there. And I believe that now. And I really believe that I just have to follow Baba. He's my master. Eventually I'll get to the end and it will all be obvious. And so I'm not trying to understand anything, because I just want to dissolve and reach the end, and I'll have it all revealed to me at the end.
Yeah, when you get God realization, Jack, are you then going to become a physics teacher and explain it to everybody?
Only if it's Baba's will. Only if I still have work to do at that point. And it would probably only be to a few. If I have like a ring, if I'm going to be a perfect master, it'll just be for those 10 or 12.
Oh God, that's funny. All right, I know Vanessa brought a quote. Would you be willing to share yours, love?
Yeah. I just wanted to say that, I was born into a Baba family, so on Silence Day, even as kids, we would all be silent together. But it was, again, like, this, you were mentioning the stages of silence that Baba even went through, where he was kind of humming or doing certain things in the beginning. Well, in the beginning, all of us had little notepads, and we would all write down what we wanted to say to the other person. And sometimes we would sit around the table and we would write jokes to see if we could make the other person laugh on the silence, or surprise them, or come around the corner and scare them. We were definitely testing each other on our will to be silent on Silence Day. And then, but I think what I like to say is that the Avatar, in his compassion, right, he's breaking his silence in a way that we can all integrate, right? I think it wouldn't serve us if it was just this blast of a word, and then we were all not able to, consciously align with that. So I think it's a beautiful thing of watching all of us blossom. And so in that, like later in my life, I was in my 30s. My kids at that time were, young. They were like 5 and 8. And Asfandyar, who was on the sixth plane, he was born in Iran. He had been a part of the Prim Ashram school. He had done lengthy bouts of meditation and different instructions by Baba in the school, had come to Myrtle Beach, and he had decided in his like sort of gift of heart to the people there that were following Baba to sit with us and explain how he meditated with Baba. And so he was willing to instruct us. And so I, in the beginning, it seems so simple, right? The mind wants to like conjure up like, oh, I have to do this step and there has to be this structure. But he really just said what he does is he sits and he imagines that Baba is sitting in his form. And so when he takes a breath, it's Baba's breath. And, so the inhale and the exhale and everything is Baba. And so we started to do this. And I was meditating primarily in the evening after making dinner and to help get the kids to bed. And I realized that my mind was slowing down, and there was a type of intoxication in just that beautiful kind of peace that was coming from within, that was different from just sitting down after a run or something. It was just like beautiful. So I felt like in this place we have the mind, right, which becomes the tool of the heart, but I didn't really understand that my mind was operating so quickly and really distracting me. And so when I found this quote, I thought it was perfect, and I wanted to share it with you guys, but it's called Internal Silence. And this is just a little recount of Baba talking to, and I'm not sure who the audience is, but I'm imagining maybe Prim Ashram boys. But here it says, the gathering assembled before him at 10 a.m. And Baba inquired, did you sleep well last night? I ask this because you all have to be awake and attentive tonight for 3 hours from 7:30 to 10:30 p.m. All replied that they had slept well, and Baba continued at length. Now listen, I want all to observe silence on the 18th for 12 hours in such a way that it equals silence for 1,200 days. This silence must be both within and without, internal as well as external. External silence is easy, but the internal is difficult. Now, what do I mean by internal silence? It means you must silence your mind for 12 hours. When you speak with the tongue, it is speech. When the lips are sealed, it is external silence. Now, the mind too has a tongue of its own with which it talks. The continual working of the mind is like the mind continually talking. The very creation of a thought is like speaking internally. Hence, the lips of the mind must be sealed. Keeping the mind silent for 12 hours is equal to not thinking at all with the mind for 12 hours. But the mind does not stop thinking for even 12 seconds. If anyone can consciously keep the mind's thoughts silent for even 12 seconds, he would achieve a very advanced spiritual state. So if you feel blank at times for a moment or more, that does not mean the mind's working has stopped. To stop the mind from thinking or to make it think and concentrate on one thought are both equal. If the mind cannot be stopped from thinking, the best remedy is to try and engage it by concentrating on one particular object. If you really, from the bottom of your heart, wish, as I want you to gain in August not only the experience, but also the knowledge to work for me in the future, then do tomorrow on the 18th, as I tell you. From 7 in the morning to 7 in the evening, observe silence externally. Each of you should sit at a distance of 6 to 7 feet from one another and try not to think of anything except what I will explain to you tonight on the chart. To drive away thoughts means to not entertain or encourage other irrelevant thoughts. And that was the quote, but I just thought, okay, I went from just scribbling, thoughts on a little piece of paper and keeping external silence to finally, in my 30s, I was being told about and instructed basically on internal silence. And now, later in my life, applying that, is very difficult. It's like extremely difficult when you're in the world and you're taking care of other beings. But I feel like in his compassion, he's encouraging me at each step to try to embrace that.
That's beautiful, though. And the one thing that you've been focusing on is Baba.
Yeah. I mean, when I'm driving, I can focus on just saying Baba's name, and that helps my mind. Just that one object. But
Wonderful.
so it has a purpose.
Yeah. Jack likes it too.
Absolutely. It's amazing. I can't wait to watch this recording so I can listen to that again.
She can send it to you.
Yeah, I can.
She's got it on her phone.
Yeah.
Oh, great. Yes,
We
please.
can send it to you. So, Diane and Terry, did you want to share a quote or a story?
A short one that I think is really helpful, that his silence was not a spiritual practice or discipline, but rather a means connected to his universal work. And that really helps me because I hear it even though there is no sound.
Yeah, beautiful. Beautiful. Yeah, I always get a tiny bit annoyed when I hear people say, oh, Baba was meditating or, things like that. And I'm like, well, no, like, you don't understand. But, everybody has to come to Baba in their own way, right?
Mm-hmm.
What I had picked out actually was a little tiny part of what Vanessa just read. So I found that amazing. What I was going to read, I'll read right now. Mayor Baba distinguished between external silence, not speaking, and internal silence, stillness of the mind. When I went to Mehrabad for the first time, above my bed, above each bed, there's a big picture. And the picture above my bed was this one.
Mm-hmm.
And guilty as charged that the mind is really what I have been operating my whole life on until that day in 2013 when Baba took my heart.
Oh.
And it has been me holding tight, not just to his Dhamman, but to my own belief in my mind. And I'm hoping that the former is winning out because it has taught me what faith is. It's that bridge between what my mind can't understand.
Yeah.
And
Trust.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It's Baba family today.
I don't know who that is.
Somebody just okay. Oh, scared him away.
Can I share another thing?
Please do.
You said faith is a bridge.
Mm-hmm.
I created a slide, but I don't know if I got to use it because I couldn't log in last time. So I think this might have been one that I couldn't use. But can you see my screen?
Yes.
I like this. I love Vanessa's painting of Baba, but this is a quote. Faith is the bridge between experience and God realization. I said that. It's my own quote. But the reason I wrote that is because people have asked me, what is faith? And so in my own experience, I try to keep it based on my own experience because I don't want to pretend to be God realized or Baba or knowing anything. But I can tell you about my experience. My experience is that faith is the bridge I walk upon to get from my own daily life experience to Baba's experience. I need that bridge. It helps me get closer to Baba. So I think that's related to what you were saying. Yeah, is it connected in some way? You're on mute. Does anybody else have any?
Nodding in silence.
Nodding in silence. Okay, that's not mute.
Well, I think that's a great way to put it. Faith being a bridge. And I agree. I certainly need faith. And it's kind of, it's like it feels almost like a magic trick. Going from having questions and doubts to, you know what, I'm just going to believe that Baba's the real deal. He's God. He's got it all figured out. I don't have to worry about anything. Everything's going exactly as he has told me. And everything's just better when I can get in that headspace. And like it feels like a magic trick. And that's faith, I think, too.
Yeah, absolutely. Whatever works, right?
Right, whatever works, whatever keeps it going. Well, I have a quote too. Is it my turn?
Yeah, it's your turn.
All right. I'm using my phone for both things, for the meeting and the quote. So let's see if
That's a magic trick.
can you still hear me? Are you able to hear me still?
Yeah,
Yeah.
we can hear you.
Okay, great. Okay. God has been everlastingly working in silence, unobserved, unheard, except by those who experience his infinite silence. Those who have got the courage and wisdom to surrender themselves to a perfect master are the recipients of his grace. Meher Baba.
That's incredible, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, for me, it was a magical journey of like being drawn to Baba and suddenly finding myself at 19 in India. I mean, I couldn't have even dreamed of that, as a young person. And, then feeling experiencing his love in my heart. I mean, that was another whole magical thing. And just, I don't know, such a beautiful journey to watch it in others too. And,
Mm-hmm.
it's like this bond of, it's the whole package. It's the love, it's the faith, it's the knowing the unknowing. It's like we all jump into that abyss together.
Yeah. Yeah, something you just said kind of gave me this flash of a feeling like growing up in a Baba family and then getting to go where Baba lived when you were 19. That's really incredible. And it makes me think about, as a kid, I grew up in a house where we weren't religious, but I went to a Bible camp with my cousins, and that's where I first learned about Jesus. And similar to with Baba, I did this experiment. Okay, Jesus, accept you into my heart. Let's see what that does.
Oh.
And it was a profound, magical experience for me as a kid, but it didn't last. I didn't have anything to latch on to really, and my relationship with Jesus and God was sort of experimental, on and off.
Oh.
And then with Baba, going on pilgrimage and being there, like having a person who's documented, whose face you can see, whose videos you can watch, whose clothes you can see in the museum, that's profound. That's really easy to latch onto.
Whose tomb you can walk into.
Yes.
I saw you walk into his tomb.
Yes.
We can bow our head at his feet.
Yes.
It's pretty incredible that he gave us that gift.
Yes.
I did want to say that I felt like I became a better mother whenever I was like all the kids would be around and they might be doing something like burning the toast or dropping a dish on the floor or something. But it was just so lovely to see the shift in me when I couldn't speak, and then what would happen after. And I think the kids all loved it too.
No, Francis didn't like it.
Well, my Gemini son did not like it. When you go like that, Mommy, talk to me.
So we have a challenge because we're traveling on Silence Day.
Oh, you are. That's the
And
best.
there was no way around it.
Can I tell you a funny story about traveling on Silence Day?
I need as much help because the Jewish
We've heard
guild.
Shireen's story. Have you heard her story? Shireen Bonner.
Oh,
She
okay.
traveled on a honeymoon on Silence Day.
Well,
Wow.
I had to travel a lot for work, as you might know, right? To customers and all that. So I used to be very serious about Silence Day. Like, have to keep silent. I don't feel that way anymore at all. But I used to get very, very serious about it. So I said, well, if I have to travel on Silence Day, I'll just take a very big notepad and a big marker and be able to write notes to everybody. And what I found is if you write notes with a marker and show people instead of talking, they think there's something wrong with you. So they'll say things like, okay, I will get you that right now. So they get loud and slow, thinking you're like retarded, basically. And you want to write like, I'm just keeping silent. I'm not stupid. I can hear you. But you don't do that. You just like, wow. So, and many different people have different experiences of what it's like to encounter somebody who's silent. And I went to a party because my friend said, I'm having a party. And she's a very close friend in England. I said, wow, that's great. I can't wait to come to your party. I said, when? And she said, oh, it'll be on July 10th. And I said, did you say July 10th? She said, yeah, I'm having a party on July 10th. You have to come. I said, July 10th? That's the one day that I keep silence. And she's like, what? I said, I'm with Mayor Baba. We keep silent on July 10th. She said, well, just come and be silent. So she loved having me at her party. And I had my pad and my pen and all that. And this guy came and she says, oh, this is Laurent. She introduced me. She said, but he's keeping silent. And he said, how rude. So that was his thing. And I was just like, wow. And other people at the party thought it was like a neat party trick or something, a party game, or I don't know what. But everybody had their own interpretation.
I would be in the party trick camp. I would think that was pretty cool.
Well, I've talked to Bubba and he said you need to do what you need to do. The reason we're going to England that day is because we're going to a wedding of the daughter of a woman who brought us to Bubba.
Oh, great.
There's a lot of good stuff in there that I think is, and we'll do the best we can.
Are you
I
gonna bring
think
a
that's
pen?
all Bubba needs anyway. Yeah, and we'll bring pen and paper.
Be prepared for people to think you're stupid.
It's all right. I am.
I don't think so.
We all have our little stuff,
I need to. I don't plan on being silent in the travel.
So you can be her interpreter.
I don't plan on it. We're traveling internationally in this environment right now. I don't want to stand out 1 inch.
Right.
Laurent taught me something very interesting 2 years ago on Silence Day. I expressed concern about I have to work and I was still kind of new to Baba, so I had never done Silence Day before. And he said, well, you can fast instead. And so I did, and that was really cool. And I guess since it's popped up into my head, I'll share with you, if you guys are interested, I'd share with you one of my favorite spiritual experiences.
Yeah.
So I was fasting, and I fasted all day. And the next day I continued to fast, and I wasn't sure when I was gonna break my fast. And I talked to Baba about it, and I thought, I just want to wait and see if Baba tells me when to eat. And what happened was, well, I was living with my in-laws at the time, and my father-in-law is one of my primary spiritual projects, I'll say. And he made me dinner, which was amazing. And so I ate it, and that's all I ate to break my fast. And that's what I ate that day, was the food that he made me. And it was just one of those experiences that you can't really describe how it feels, but it felt like really working with Baba, and just a lot of clarity.
It's beautiful.
To me, it's like Baba was nourishing you.
Yes, that's how it felt to me.
Like the ultimate prasad.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
He tends to know what he's doing.
Yes. That's how it felt. It was like that. It was like, look at this. I know what I'm doing. You were right. You were looking inward. You were waiting for me.
Oh.
That good stuff, you know?
Yeah. Well, that's all I had for today. Should we wrap it up? Make an early meeting? Yeah.
Sure.
Okay. Well, I'll stop the recording.